Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another build video, the subject of which is this, the Airfix Spitfire TR.9 in 1/48 scale. Very new kit, only been out, how long has it been out? No more than a couple of months. And the reason why it's been delayed on the bench is because I'm still waiting for my parcel from the UK with the seatbelts and the exhaust in it, amongst a few other bits and bobs. So yeah, a delayed project, but I thought I'd get cracking. Hopefully that little parcel will be with me very soon. I'm not going to do a separate part one. This is just going to be a short intro before we go over to the bench and get cracking. But as is normal, I'm just going to introduce you to the project, go through the bits of aftermarket I'm going to use, the markings and what I'm hopefully trying to achieve. So the markings, I'm actually going to use the kit markings. I'm going to do the Irish version. I really like it in that all over grey green, the sort of interior green. A bit of a discussion on the forums as to the finish. I know some of them were glossy, some of them were sort of matte. I'm going to do a matte version. I think the one in the box, I think that version was one of the glossy ones. So what I'm probably going to do is do a different tail number. Not entirely sure which. I've been scouring the internet looking for pictures. I was very tempted by the natural metal one actually, but decided against that. I think I'm going to go down the grey-green route, like I say, so I can sort of get into some of the weathering. Not massively weathered. Obviously, this was not a wartime aeroplane under combat conditions, so they were well looked after. But I think some weathering will be appropriate. It's going to be a really unique model, actually. I had toyed with the idea of getting an Eduard brass-in engine set and trying to graft that onto the front. I think that would be cool, but actually I'm so excited about the project, I just want to crack on with it and get it built and have it sat in my display cabinet. That's going to be the aim. Now, aftermarket wise, I'm going to use some seat belts. You don't get any in the kit at all, so I'm going to use some photo etch seat belts, and the exhausts that are supplied are solid. They come in sort of, it's very unique. If you've seen the sprue tour that I did of this, you'll note that the exhausts come in two parts and they kind of interlock like that, and really, really effective, but they are solid. And obviously I don't want that, so what I'm going to do is replace them with some resin ones, and that is it really. I'm not going to be throwing the kitchen sink at this one. I want to be sympathetic to the actual Airfix kit itself. Looking in the box, it's just a stunning model. It's clearly one of the best looking Airfix kits that they have ever done, and they are on such a roll at the moment. I really want to do the Lysander, I really want to do the Big Buccaneer, I really want to do the Sea King, I really want to do the Jag. But there's just so many other projects that I really want to do. But this one really leaps out at me. When it first came out, I was like, who's going to buy that? That is really weird. Why have they done that? But actually, I had a word with myself, and now I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a really unique model. And obviously, the single-seater is due out at some point this year as well, which will be really cool. Right. I still haven't decided whether I'm going to use the decals or paint them. I don't know. I'm going to have it, see if I can do a set of masks for it, and we'll see how we get on. But I'm going to cross that bridge when I come to it. I'll probably just use decals. Obviously, if I'm going to change the serial number, then I'm going to have to spray that. But that would be fairly straightforward. But we shall see. We shall see. Right, okay, enough waffle. Let's get over to the bench and start snipping some bits off the sprues. I'll see you over there then. Here we are at the bench, and first job is to prepare the parts for the photo etch and all the other bits of detail. Very coarse sanding stick that removed all the detail off the instrument panels, which is very, very nice, by the way. And I normally do this. It's a good idea just to give the brass parts a key. It's going to help with paint adhesion, help with glue adhesion as well. There is the photo etched compass mount, and there is the compass, which was scratch built. Now those mounts did actually interfere with the fit of the kind of shelf thing that you'll see later. But yeah, bit of extra detail nonetheless. Right, these Infini glass files sent to me by Ed from Premium Hobbies. He's the stockist, so I thought I'd give them a go here, and just to finish off the sort of removal of the detail. And they're really good because they kind of polish the plastic at the same time. It's really cool effect. He also sent me these Infini sanding sponges, perfect for removing the moulded in seat back detail. You can see why I did that in a moment. Right, this kind of funky looking single piece of photo etch is the seat mount and seat sides. Takes a bit of thought, it's a bit of a fiddle, but I think the results are well worth it. The sides of the seat are scale thickness. These parts I'm gluing up now, obviously you can see the lightning holes, and it really does add that extra bit of refinement, and I was really pleased. What you do have to be careful of though is make sure you bend the seat sides round the right way. One I did the right way, one I did the wrong way, and you can tell because it's got the sort of outline shape of where to glue the plastic part on the inside. So just be very careful you bend them the right way. To be honest, it doesn't really matter because when you're looking from the cockpit, it's kind of hidden by the sort of cockpit sides, if you like. There we are. That is the, I think that's the correct way around, that one. Might be the wrong way around, don't know. But there we are. Yeah, it looks really, really nice. This is the cockpit door. This is the front seat cockpit door, and it's kind of a lamination of 3 layers. It's all in one, you just fold it up. It works really, really well actually. And that is the back cockpit. I did end up replacing the crowbar with a bit of plastic rod, and in hindsight it's a little bit too fat, so I should have used a bit of thinner one, but there we go. I'll know that for the single seater that I'll be doing when that gets released. Opening up the cockpit doors, just using sort of file sanding sticks just to square everything off. There is the too fat crowbar, and in the back cockpit, so if you look carefully you'll see the little brackets, much better than the photo etch part. As with all Spitfire kits, normally they come with the lightning holes solid, so they just got drilled out. Makes a massive difference. This is the paint of choice for the seat. It's not Bakelite. Some people think it's Bakelite. It's some kind of pressed resin stuff. Very careful with the airbrush to paint the support, and then it was just touched in with a brush. Now we can get on with some of the detail painting. Diluted atom acrylic paints. I tend to dilute it quite heavily, and then do, you know, up to 3 or 4 coats, and that way you don't get any brush marks at all. It just looks sprayed on. Brilliant stuff, that atom paint. 3D printed decals then. So they're not decals as such. They're 3D printed detail parts printed on decal paper. So you just literally 1 drop of water on the back, wait about 5 seconds and peel it off. What you don't want to do is soak them in the water. Literally 1 drop of water on the back, wait a few seconds and they just peel off. You can use super glue or you can use any sort of PVA glue. Here I'm using the Ultra Glue by Ammo. It's brilliant stuff. It's super strong. I think it's a kind of water-based resin type glue. When I say resin, I don't mean it's for resin. It's resin kind of based. And I don't know how they do it with the sort of clear dials. It's absolutely wonderful what they do. Look at that, just brilliant. A little bit speckly, but with the naked eye, looking into the cockpit, it's fine. A few other little detail bits and bobs here and there. Starship Filth, I use this all the time for pretty much everything. It's a brilliant tone. Goes with greys, greens, metals, browns, everything. Having used MRP for the cockpit, that goes down very, very smooth. No varnish coats required. You can see some of the placards there from the Eduard space set. And then we can just touch in the wash. Or we can do a bit more of a sort of brushy type thing, for want of a better phrase. Now this one I'm using here, it's very, very old actually, and it's pretty much had its life. So I've now binned it. I've got a brand new one, and that will work much better. It did struggle to blend a little bit, I will say, here and there. And that's because I have actually thinned it in the bottle a number of times. But I've had it a long time. You know, they do last. Cotton bud, gentle rub, job done. Easy. Now the lower parts. You can see I've done some of the detail painting there as well. A little bit of chipping, not too much. And there's some raised rivet detail on these bulkheads, and the wash just kind of makes it pop. Talking of pop, this stuff, dry brush paint. Who knew there was such thing as an effective acrylic dry brush? But this stuff is also amazing. I know I'm an Ammo fanboy, and I make no apologies. They do some brilliant products, and this is one of their best. And you can see there, it just catches on that raised detail. You know, a bit of an old school technique now, dry brushing, but it works a treat, as you can see there. Trying to get rid of the glare on the duralumin. The duralumin is my sort of natural metal paint of choice. I know this was kind of painted silver lacquer. Now on the wheel wells of Spitfires, the bit where the wheel went was classed as exterior, so that is the underside colour, and the inner bit where the leg is was classed as interior, hence it was either unpainted or silver lacquer. A little bit of speckling. This is just diluted Starship Filth, just flicked on and then sort of blended. If there's any sort of big bits, blend those away. It's very, very subtle, but it just adds that extra layer of depth. Tiny bit of flash here just on the slots for the instrument panel bulkheads. So they were just opened up with a scalpel. It was just too tight without doing that. It's just tiny bit of sort of mold seam type flash, if that makes sense. You can see there the sort of lower sort of mini bulkhead thing has already gone in, and then the foot pedal footrests can go in. Now I didn't use the 3D printed decal seat harnesses because they were blue, which are kind of like modern post-war. These are just standard Eduard photo etched late war Spitfire. I think was it the Sutton Q or something like that, I don't know. A little bit of a fiddle to put it over that kind of bar thing, and then at the same time we can glue the seat mount to the seat frame, obviously using super glue because it's brass after all. Trying to get a natural drape of the seat harness there. And then when that's in, the bulkhead with the seat can go in. Just note there the seat adjustment handle, a ratchet type thing, that is from the kit, but the sort of ratchet thing is photo etch, and that was a massive fiddle. And to be honest, it's on the right hand side of the cockpit, so I wouldn't bother doing that if I'm going to do another one, which I am. I'm going to do the single seater. I'll just use the kit part, and that's what it's looking like so far. Now we can go in and just start adding all the other bits and bobs. Now this sort of bit on the left hand side, I didn't follow the instructions, and I should have. So the sort of throttle quadrant mounting debris, so I had to sort of cut that. So I measured it on the outside, saw exactly where I should cut it, and then I just applied the part, or I glued in the part in 2 parts, and you wouldn't know I'd actually cut it in half. It would be easier to follow the instructions. I don't know why I didn't. And then gluing it from the underside, because obviously you're going to see it from the top, so if I did make a little bit of a mess, it would all be hidden, but I didn't. Just a little bit of glue there on the mounting holes, and there is the throttle quadrant all in, and you wouldn't know that I cut that in half. All the other bits and bobs on the other side now, that sort of wiring thing, I think it's from the undercarriage lever in the back cockpit, so I did that a sort of dusty brown colour, which I think is probably correct. And tolerances are tight, but it goes together really well. With a little bit of a squeeze, you can bring the sort of tub together. That's what it's looking like so far. The undercarriage lever on the right hand side, that's been put in, so you can see the sort of brown pipe work. Control columns, really, really good. You could replace them with the Barracuda Studios 3D printed ones. They are utterly, utterly beautiful. Highly recommended, but I didn't have any out here with me. But the kit parts, they're really nice for kit parts actually. This little sort of black box, you can't see it when everything's finished. But with that in place, this kind of forward firewall bulkhead job, that just slots in, and that actually is really satisfying, gluing that into place. Just fits so well. So here's the kind of shelf thing, and you'll notice there the lug. I had to get rid of that because as I mentioned right at the beginning, the compass mount, the photo etch thing, was interfering with the fit. So the way around that was to get rid of the mounting lug. I also had to trim the back slightly because it was ever so slightly pushing it back. But with that done, then this part can be glued in. It's quite a tight fit. Like I said, I had to trim the back part of mine to get it to fit, and then it just kind of pushed in. Same sort of deal for the back, although this fitted much better because the canopy, sorry, the canopy, what am I talking about? The compass thing. The issue wasn't so bad. You could add a little bit of wiring out the back of the rear instrument panel if you wanted. I didn't bother, but you could do. And you see the rear bulkhead with the seat is on, and the sort of seat harness is floating. I'll do that right at the very end. A few other little levers and whatnot going down. There were a couple of tiny levers on there which were replaced with photo etch. And yeah, this was a right fiddle now. Trying to get the back of the seat harness through that sort of bar. That was a bit of a fiddle, but I got there in the end. And there we go. There is the cockpit tub. It's easy for me to say. All done. Right, now to put the compressed air bottles in the back. You won't see them. But, you know, for completeness, why not? So you have to glue in this sort of mounting thing. That just goes in. And then the compressed air bottles, which I cocked up the decalling. One of them just folded up and turned into mush. Totally my fault. So there's only one decal on there. But as I said, you're not going to see it anyway. And then we're just going to do a bit of a dry fit to make sure the tub fits, and it fits in beautifully. And that is it. That is the end of this episode. So I'll just leave you with some photos of the bits. The summary that I take away from this is it's a beautiful kit. The cockpit is wonderfully detailed. The Eduard space set isn't really necessary, but it does lift things somewhat, and the choice is yours. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next part. Cheers, bye bye.